Oh boy. Let me talk about snow. We were supposed to get no snow, and then we were supposed to get a lot of snow, and now we're getting whatever we get. So, anyway, as soon as you get here, let me know whether you can, how the sound is working, how the video is working, how everything is working right now. And I'll just sort of hang out here for a while. Hey, David. Oh, listen, you were just asking about the Daniel Ross, right? Sound and video are good. That's great. David, was that you? Some David sent me a thing about a Dan. Oh, yeah, that was you. That's an interest. Again, that is something that I think is worth checking because I mean, that three armed hand, and I know it sounds funny to talk about it that way, but I think that's the coolest thing the way they use those three different tracks, and it's very cool. You can, I don't know whether you'd get a better buy on the original uh, Daniel Roth version or the Bulgari version, but they're both pretty cool. I've been really looking very closely at a Bulgari version of a Papillon also. Love that stuff. Hey, Frank Elko, hi. Hey, hey, Brian, how you doing? Jack, I got a full head of hair. That's what it is. I got have. I got this hat in Finland uh, about I don't know 4 or 5 years ago, and whenever it gets really this cold and stuff, I pop this thing on, and that'll take on anything. It's a nice warm hat, so I thought I'd wear my hat today. And then of course I have on my H Moser sweater, which is built for this kind of weather, and the watch to go along with it. So I'm all set. I'm set for a good snow talk. Yeah, got a head of hair. Boy, oh boy. Some people the mean girls are here. Okay, Jack. All right. So what's new in watches? I've got there are all kinds of things that I think are worth talking about. Uh, Let me, while you guys are thinking of topics you'd like to talk about, let me bring up one. I've been watching lately, and there seems to be these sort of YouTube trends. And one of the current trends seems to be watches you should never buy. And I'm thinking, I wonder why they said that. And one of them they had with a Tissot, and I'm looking at the back of the Tissot, and you can see the regulator in there, and I'm thinking, oh boy, I'd get in there and I could regulate that thing. I mean, this is simple regulation. You're just moving the regulation arm back and forth with a toothpick. And so, but I think, what would a Tissot and Omega used to be part of the same company. I mean, this is before they were both bought by Swatch. And the Tissot was to be the more economical end, and then the Omega was to be the more expensive end. And I think a lot of that was thrown off kilter big time by the moon watch. I mean, when that thing was landed on the moon, that changed things. And so it is sort of, a lot of people took that to mean really diminished Tissot. I don't know. I mean, you have a bunch of Swatch owns ETA now, and they can do all kinds of stuff with them. I think another one that was unrecommended was a Longines. I'm thinking, man, Longines has some really nice watches. I mean, they're not. On the one hand, I don't see them as high horology necessarily, but on the other hand, look at some of the stuff they have. my equation of time watch is still one of my favorite. And not only does it have equation of time, it's got the sunrise, sunset, and then the declination of the earth, whatever that means. I've been trying to figure that one out so I don't sort of roll off one side or the other. Anyway, okay, so hey, Stephen, how you doing? Jack, let's see. Some people refer to as watch daddy content. Ah, telling others what to. Yeah, that's you know. Here's my advice. Of course, I always say do research, and that still goes. But another one is look ways you can have fun with watches. Um, this is my my great example of a fun watch I'll probably do more with. And whenever, and I'll stick it in the old time grapher, run it around, and if it's not spot on, I'll I'll take the back off and get to work with my toothpick on adjusting it. That's you can have a lot of fun with that. I have these like one, two, three, four covered uh dishes, which are for some little project that I worked on or forgot about or going to get back to. All kinds of things in there. So I I don't think the only thing I would say, okay, this is the one sort of generic kind of watch is that don't get a watch where they lie to you about the movement and charge you for more than what's in the watch. That would be my only admonition. Now, even that though might go out the window. You say, I don't care what kind of movement it has as long as it ticks. What I want is a watch that has a sort of cool engraving on it or one thing or the other like that. So that's so even with that, there's a caveat. Hey, Quarters, hi, good morning, William. It's raining in Florida. It always rains in Florida. It rains when it's not raining. When I lived in Florida, I used to ride a motorcycle and I had a rain suit, and it looked like a big yellow traffic cone wearing my rain suit on my motorcycle. It's going along. In the middle of winter, it was muggy and hot, and I'd be sweating inside of my rain suit. And then if it rained on it, though, it seemed to work. it just rained inside, not on the outside. Oh yeah, I got my youngest son was born in Florida. He's a Floridian, but is now an Oregonian. I have a Tissot PRS 516 that I bought early on. I love that watch. Yeah, there's something about it. It's like a Model T, Ford or something like that. These guys would open those things up and do all the work on it and play with it and so on and so forth and enjoy it. Um, I, I sold three of the five watches I'm selling. The other two are off getting evaluated for an auction. Not because I didn't like them. I mean, and certainly not because they're bad watches. All of them are really great watches. But I just was something else that I wasn't paying enough attention to them. And I thought, well, why should they just sit here when I have there seems to be a bottomless hole of watches that I want. And always a new one comes along that I never thought of. And pretty soon I might be getting a couple that I keep finding more. That's awful. Oh, Jack, I appreciate. Oh, okay. Yeah, everyone should make up their mind. Yeah, I'm no watch daddy. Um, I'll be a watch Tom Sawyer. We all hop on a leaky raft and go down the Mississippi. Ah, hey, Bradley. Good morning. Oh, we're having a good day. Now, a snow day to me is just another day because I'm retired. But for kids, they love snow days, no school. Some jobs, they close the business because no one's coming in and so they get a day off work. Um, but more and more, everybody's working from home. I have my daughter-in-law. I have a daughter-in-law out in California, Oregon, who is has this amazing job. And what she does, she gets all of these new laws that different states have, and then their clients are these businesses that want to stay ahead of the law, and so she just she keeps up with all the new laws, sends out the laws to them, and I don't know what else is involved in that. But I think not only are there new laws, but I think there may be certain things, if there are attorneys that she works with, I'm not sure, but she does all of that from home. It doesn't make any sense if you're in Oregon and you're talking to somebody in Wisconsin about some changes in the laws that'll affect a certain kind of business. Uh, why sit in an office? So anyway, so a lot of people are, they're going to be home anyway on a snow day, which means I can't go to the grocery store. Yeah, Brian, it's exactly. If something says uh, Swiss automatic movement, it's just like, why not say, I'm not telling you about the movement. You're on your own, sucker. That's what I would do. That one, I put up a dealer dud. Now, I really like Christian Vanderclaw. I like them a lot, but I I'm always I wish they would tell us more about the kind of movement that they have. They're dealing with two movements. On one is their base movement, and then on the other are their complications by Kristen Vanderclaw. Well, when you read the caliber of the Kristen Vanderclaw, you have a CVDK, 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the caliber, and it's the legit caliber, but it's sitting on top of an ETA. Now, let me say something about ETAs that my experience with my Christian Vanderclaw was that thing was great. That thing was one of the most accurate movements that I had. So they must have gotten a good one on that. I don't know what they did. But that thing was always a great, great accurate watch and really pretty. So yeah, it's important. If they don't give it to you, get it on your own. Hey Dominic, how you doing? You guys, I know that Brian and Dominic are in the snow. I don't know if any of the rest of you are or not. Hey Sherry, how you doing? When do you plan to publish your memoirs? I've got a not most of them, a lot of those books behind me. Well, all of the ones on the wall, but I got another wall full. I published a lot of books. I wrote and published, I think, a total of 63 books before I retired. Man, that's a lot of work. Just a whole lot of work is writing books, believe me. It was something I did for 45 years, and man, when I was finished, when I just said, okay, that's enough, I looked and I said, God, that's a lot of work. Up every morning at 4 a.m. writing, and then at about 9:30 going off to work at the university, and did that 7 days a week. That's how it's like, enough's enough, So not going to publish memoirs, and besides, they'd be too hot for any publisher to touch. It would singe their hands. How's that, Sherry? Okay. What else about? Hey, Bradley. Let's see what's up. Jochen Benzinger. also did the guilloche and finishing movement on the, yeah, he did that. A lot of people, it's guilloche is a nice thing. That'll be, and in fact, I have my Fabergé has some wonderful guilloche on it, and the watches that Larique is working on. If we don't all go mad, we're having this really incredible guilloche, a unique one. But to me, that's, I don't know. I don't know what I would compare it to. In terms of, there's such a difference. Again, what I used to do in working with web development, there was always the guys who did the programming, and the programming was a mix of everything. Okay, from an underlying Java to HTML to PHP. I don't know. I did a book on Microsoft language called C sharp, which was like everything is C this, C that, and theirs was C sharp. And the it's just a totally different thing. Right before I retired, I got into heavily into it, and still uh, like it a lot, is something called lambda calculus. And there's a computer language called Haskell that was pretty much, lambda calculus. And there's something, I just was fascinated by it. I took it, I figured out how to work it into PHP. I did all of this stuff with it. But then when it came time to quit writing books, I quit. But having said all of that, the programming versus the looks of a website. I have complained a lot about how bad watch websites are. Now, we have a wonderful, wonderful designer for Larique, and he does designs that are fantastic. But there's a difference. Like in programming, sometimes and this is what you see, I think, on the watch designs. You've got all of this, I don't know, stuff going around, and there's figures and so on and so forth. We had a term for that. It was called dancing baloney. And you've seen it once, you know it, okay? It's sort of like telling the same joke 2 or 3 times. And the problem is that then you can't find anything. You'd think that these people are selling watches. On the other hand, if you go to a place, open up, okay, these are Acme watches, and any number of different menus, and it says, okay, watches, okay, you want alpha, beta, gamma, delta, whatever, and you click that, and then you get to see the watch. But instead, they have got some of this stuff they put together, and they're thinking it's either a crazed programmer who learned a new stupid dog trick, as, oh, I know how to do this, and I can make the graphics do all kinds of stuff. Usually those guys can't program with a jack. They know a lot of stupid dog tricks. And when you try to change it, you can't. So that's the way I feel about watches. If you don't have a good, solid underlying movement, all you got is dancing baloney on a strap, okay? If you have them together, then you have, to me, is what I like the looks of this, for example. And it's simple, it's clean, and I know what the movement is. The movement is fantastic. They have a power reserve indicator on the back, all kinds of things like that. And they tell you what it is. That's why I like H. Moser. I don't think they've never had a movement to lie about. I mean, they always have good movements in there, so they don't have to say, oh, this was built near a waterfall or something like that. So anyway, okay, what do you guys have? Ben's in there he does nice work. I missed a few minutes, had to step away. You never miss anything here. or you always miss something. Hey, Bradley, what's up? Okay. Unfortunately, I've never looked into Powermatic 80. Oh boy. Okay, what are you talking about? Bradley, there you are. Any thoughts at the so Powermatic 80? Bill, any thoughts or experience? I did a I tell you, I like Powermatic 80. Let me tell you something sort of interesting about that. Powermatic 80, I forgot what the underlying movement is, but it's like an ETA or something like that. And I'm wrong, Powermatic 80. No. Anyway, the Powermatic 80 is a 3 hertz movement. And the thing about 3 hertz is that I like it better for lots of reasons. But one of the things that you get with your lower frequency is you get more out of your wind time. Okay, in other words, if you wind up something like a ETA 6498 1 with the 18,000 semi oscillations per hour, the 2.5 hertz, that's going to last a lot longer than the same movement that's been tuned to 4 hertz. Okay. They're both telling time and yada, 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 and they're going on. So, yeah. Okay. Now, one reviewer said, he sort of sniffed. He said, well, lowering the frequency is one way that, one trick, he said, that watch developers use to extend the charge on it, to extend the power reserve on it. So if you go from 4 hertz and then you go on, this is on the Powermatic 80, whatever they had, they tuned it down to 3 hertz, it's going to last longer. And the thing, I guess, about it, he referred to it as a trick. I mean, like, not a trick. I mean, no one's trying to trick you, but rather it's simply a way that you can take the same horology and make a change to it. Now, I mean, that's like saying, well, they're jacking up the hertz rate because the junk that they put out, they can't keep a steady time, and so they have to keep chasing quartz, which is you can't do really. And so if you look at all of the top watchmakers, every single one of them have their watches at 3 hertz or less. There's some exceptions, but not too many. So, all right. So you got me going on that, Bradley. And the Powermatic 80. I happen to like the Powermatic 80. Now, the thing about the Powermatic 80 is there are different versions of it. And unfortunately, the top grade is, it's like, oh, it's silicon. In our top grade, we put a silicon hairspring. The funny thing about it is that to me, it should be their bottom grade. Yes, they're not going to have problems. Yes, there's not going to be change. Yes, you've made a Stepford wife out of your movement. Congratulations. Yeah. Okay, that's enough. That's enough out of this guy. Let's see what else you guys have. Hey, Andrew, according to Caliber Corner, the Powermatic 80, oh boy, here we are, which is based on, an ETA C07111, which is in town, is based on the ETA 2824. Yeah, that's, I knew it was one of them, one of the more common ones. 2824 is like sort of the faithful mule. Now, the oh, it's in turn. Okay, yeah, that's sort of an interesting thing that you've got. you have all of these different things going on with this movement, and I would love to hear the discussions that the watchmakers have. Say, okay, well, what are we going to do with this? They want us to do this with it. They want us to do that with it. And so we're going to, they want a longer charge. And so we'll simply use a lower frequency to achieve that. Where's the sin involved? It's like, it's one of those things that, what's up? Okay, my phone's oh, I know, everybody's autocorrect does that. Mine does too. I like it when it does something that is so far off, it's almost obscene. And so Friday didn't. I don't know. And then I accuse the autocorrect of being a pervert, and you know how it is. Okay, so what else is new? What else do you guys want to talk about? We can talk about anything because this is unscheduled, irresponsible, and it's a snow day. So none of us have. I got to run out to my appointment. All of the appointments are canceled. See how taking. Oh, I wish you could see this, man. It is gorgeous outside. It looks like a whiteout out there, but it's really gorgeous. Can't pick up my computer and show you guys. Okay, so what else like to talk about watches? Okay, hey HRM, currently bidding on you're getting a Delirium. Oh, I love Deliriums. Yes, they have the Jacquet 736. Oh my goodness, is that the one you're getting? Oh, good grief. That's a neat watch. I really enjoy collecting the 736s. I've learned about so many different brands. I've got a Dunhill from that. I have a Jacquet Droz, and then all these other weird ones, and it's fun. And one of the ones I'm always keeping an eye out for is the Concord Delirium. And where's another one? There's one that is, trying to think. I don't think it's the Cartier. It's some other one that has that 736 in it. Good luck, HRM. I hope you get it. Yeah. Yeah, Brian. Like when it does something right. That's funny. Okay, Quarter Eye, what's up? Do you know anyone who has bought a watch from Benjamin Chi of Celadon? He has another brand called Millicron, I believe. I am curious about the brand. Are they decent watches? I know Benjamin. In fact, Hodinkee sent me, I think, 2 or 3 of his watches that I took a look at before I sent them back to Singapore. I think it was Singapore. Anyway, and they're really good watches. They're not. I'm trying to think what kind of movement he uses. I think some of. Oh, I know. Of course, Vaucher. That's one of the movements he uses. The one day, let's see if I have it right here somewhere up here. Now it's here somewhere. Benjamin had a he was buying a bunch of Vaucher movements, and he's getting the ones with the micro rotor, with those gold micro rotors. And so I thought, oh, hey, I said, hey, Benjamin, could you order an extra one, and I'll take it off your hands. And he did that for me. And that movement, my God, that is such a good movement. And I don't know what to do with it. This is funny because they're relatively small, and but they're not. I mean, everything's relatively small to these great big 6498 clones I like to work with. So I'd have to do some work to find the all of the parts for it. But that's one thing I'll say about Benjamin. He uses decent movements. I don't know if that'll help you or not. Some speculate that the Jacquet 736 is a modified Peugeot 7001. You know, that is a speculation, and it may be a correct one. HRM. What Jean-Pierre Jacquet used to have was they were pretty much an assembler. They would buy eboches and they would put the eboches together and then sell the movements as complete movements. Because a lot of watch companies, they don't want to mess with, putting it together. Right now, Agenor is putting ours together from scratch, the AGH 6802, and going through all of the processes that it takes, and it's not always easy. Now, the thing about the 736, whether it's Peugeot 7001, I think the reason a lot of people thought it was a 7001, in other words, it uses an eboche from the 7001, is because it runs at 3 hertz. And that may be why. I'm not sure. The 7001 is, I don't know for sure if it's the 7001. A lot of people have said, well, that's what it must be, but I don't know. It's not an unreasonable thing. See, when you take something, I mean, it's one thing to see a 7001 sort of basically using the same kind of casing and everything, the same kind of bridges and the same kind of plates that you see in a typical round Peugeot 7001. But then you put it in a shape movement, it looks totally different. And so it could be, but I'm not sure. And just because it runs at 3 hertz doesn't mean it is. HRM. Moritz Grossman or H. Moser? I've got them both, and I'm not telling. You have there's so many things that aren't either or. I mean, it's sort of like if you don't have a Rolex, like I don't, you must be a Rolex hater. I'm not a Rolex hater. I'm not at all. I just have other preferences. And the same thing would be the only reason I have a Moritz Grossman right now, well, there's more than one reason, but the main reason is that there was one that came up for sale at a fabulous price, brand new. And, it was spectacular. Now, I only have 2. Both of my H. Mosers I got on the secondary market, also brand new, for very, very good prices. Seems that you can't get them anymore, but that's neither here nor there. So it would be it's not a terrible question, but it's one that it's impossible because there's so many things about both of them that I like. One of the things that might be fun for us all would be that hematic. The thing that instead of having a rotor, it's got that hammer going back and forth. I had talked to Christine Hutter about, saying, hey, got a bunch of guys who like watches but don't have a lot of money because they buy some of those hematic movements. And she said, yeah, maybe about 3 years. Now, this is back in October, so we got 2.5 more years. So I'll bug her about it and see if, she wants to let it. It's not a matter of giving it away. It's simply a matter of somebody else using it to make their own watches with. And that's exactly what what I would have in mind, try to get some guys together, because those, God, they're $30,000-$40,000 watches with those hematic movements. Then we can do better. So it's that on that. The same thing is true with H. Moser. My God, the double hairsprings. I have the Henry double hairspring, but now the only ones with double hairsprings are the tourbillons, and they cost an arm and a leg. So, the idea is that how you sort of like a pig in truffles. You have to go around and sniff out all of the good buys, or potentially good buys. I don't know. I think pig in truffles might be a bad term. Let's see. Maybe contact local machinist and ask him to design a case for you. Yeah, I guess. Well, I'm more likely to go back to Benjamin and say, "Hey, Benjamin, you got any leftover cases you want to get rid of? Any of them that fell off the turnip truck?" I don't know. But you're right, HRM. It's John. Back to cool temperatures in Montreal. Yeah. Oh, you're in Montreal now. Love Montreal. I don't think I've ever met anyone who hasn't liked Montreal. Montreal's a neat city. The 7001 is discontinued. It is. Hi, Abdul. How you doing? What are we talking about? Whatever we feel like, Abdul. So many of those. What I'm thinking, the 7001, either whether it's the ETA version or somehow you dug up some old Peizu versions, the discontinued, what would you replace it with, John? Anybody can jump in on that? Hi, Junior. Hi, Gabriel. Hi, Chili Burger. Oh, you like my headgear? The story behind it. I got it in a visit to Finland, and they know cold weather, and so I figured, well, I'll get one of their cold weather hats. That's what it is. Okay, Abdul, speaking of acquiring timepieces on the secondary market, have you ever wished to acquire a piece new, even though you can find it like new on the secondary market? You bet. I mean, somebody wait, you wait in line, you get some AD who feels sorry for you. Say, okay, you can have one of these in a couple of years. And so you wait, and you get it a couple of years. You got it in your hands, you wear it once. It's now a used watch. Okay. It is now a pre-owned watch. And so it's like, okay, so somebody else had it. Some of these are part of larger collections. When I got my, Harry Winston, the AD I got it from, it was a Harry Winston AD in New Jersey. He said it hasn't been worn very much. He said there was a guy who's like, he's a billionaire or something. He's got $1 million collection of watches. He said his initials were HW, and that's how come he had a Harry Winston. And so he saw another Harry Winston that he liked, so he got it. He said, I don't need two of these because I just needed one for it. And so the thing had been sitting in this case. And so I came along and worked out a deal with a guy. But, it's a matter of, I don't know, it's partially my refrain of doing the research, but there's also a matter of realizing when you got a good deal, realizing when you got lucky. Okay. That's important. That's how I got I was not prepared to get that Moritz Grossmann. That thing came out of the blue, and unfortunately I was able to, put enough break enough piggy banks to get one. But, you know, there are all kinds of things. Contingencies play as much as a role of planning. Um, like, let's say, for example, in 2018, you went into, let me think. Let's say you go into an FP Journe boutique. Say, okay, I want this blue, this chronomet blue. Hey, okay, that's going to cost you 22,000, and it'll be ready in 6 months, or it'll be ready in 12 months, and something like that. So, okay, 22,000, and say, okay, well, I'm going to put that down. Boom, along comes the pandemic. Kaboom, all of these things happen, but you have bought it, and so the contingency is what made it an incredible deal, not the original deal. And so it's like there's two things. A lot of contingencies are events you can't anticipate, but the more you do some kind of nosing around, the more you're able to do it. I mean, in other words, you're able to recognize when something good. That was why when that Moritz Grossman, I found it by accident. I was working on a video and I was looking for some good deals, and I saw that. So, oh, that's a really good deal. So I put it up there, and then I started thinking that thing's not going to last 5 minutes, and so I bought it. That's a bad person who would do that. Okay. It's very cool that some IBOSH manufacturers are open to small quality runs nowadays. ETA and Frederick Piguet is going Swatch Group exclusive, force others to step up. Good point, HRM. You're absolutely right. I think Crenode is doing a lot more. So is Vaucher, I mean, you only need, I think, 20 or 25 to get to buy Vaucher, things like that. There is a Vincent Calabrese Beauty Fuel 18 karat gold on Chrono for 20. Wow, that is a very good price. Well, listen, hey, you could have that. That'd be a cool thing, Quarter Eye, to be out there with that 24 karat, 18 karat gold watch. So what if you're in a doghouse? You got peace and quiet. Just kidding. Hey, Rancher. By the way, on my little side project, Watchsmith has found a dial manufacturer, refinisher, will play ball. How great. That is such a cool project. That is a cool project. Quarter Eye, listen, don't listen to me, okay? Whatever you do, I don't want to get anybody in trouble with their wife any more than I already get in trouble with my own. Hi, HRM. Let me see. Recently had a crystallized titanium dial made for my personal project watch. That's cool. There are a lot of things you can do if that's another aspect of doing research, is finding all of these little places that you can get stuff done. I learned a lot about German case makers when I got a Soprod, because I had a hard time finding a case that would fit it, and I finally found one in Germany. So those kind of things. Also, too, I was very surprised to find the case that I had. You could take the back off, but you could also unscrew the dial and take it off too. The phrase "good deal" evokes all kinds of choice paradox. For example, thoughts like, this thing is 15% off its retail. Is that a good deal? Well, I think a good deal is relative to expectations. You're right, Abdul. I mean, it is a valid point. And I to me, a good deal has to do with what I can afford, not necessarily a good deal. Now, somebody says, "Wow, I found this watch for it was $150,000 and it's normally 200,000. I got a good deal on it." I'm thinking that's out of my orbit of good deals. That's on another way out somewhere else. So, on the other hand, if I found a Moritz Grossmann for it was around 6, I think, this is like in new, and it's just, it was a good deal in about 50 different ways, plus the fact that it was hound wine, which I like, plus the fact that it was 2.5 hertz, which I really like. And I mean, there was things about it I wasn't crazy about. Like I don't like the at first the sort of skeletonized dial. It turned out that it wasn't skeletonized so much as that it was a design they made. They took all of the different hands that Moritz Grossmann uses on their watches and sort of made a little collage out of it. On the other hand, they had green hands, and I've been looking for something green. Jim, I hope to get a Mokum game dial made as well. Mukumi game is basically Damascus steel made with gold and silver. Wow, that does sound neat. I didn't know that. Yeah, Damascus steel, I've heard used a lot as sort of a measure of quality of steel. And I know nothing about it. I guess Damascus at one time had some really great steelworks. I don't know, but it's when I hear Damascus steel, oh boy, that must be a special one. Okay, what else is going on, guys, in the watch field? I've already complained. Well, I'll complain about it some more for you. Let's see what you got here. Hi, Eric. It's sad that Moritz Grossmann can't move their Hamatic watches. Novelty doesn't bring in the revenue. Well, you might have some interesting buyers if you take a different road. You know that. That's what I've been telling Christine Hutter. Oh yeah, we have your best interest in mind. If anybody ever says that to you, run. Let's see, Abdul, what you got now? These days, I'm thinking about Laurent Ferrier a lot and Romain Gauthier. Yeah, I like them both, especially Romain Gauthier. I like the looks. Literally love the looks of Laurent Ferrier. It's very sort of understated elegance more than anybody else. And to say understated is, I don't know. It's just like something about those watches that evokes that without really trying very hard. HR, do you expect a new Universal Geneve watch this year? That's a great point. I don't know. Who bought, let's see, Breitling bought I think, or something like that. I don't know. To me, Breitling, I don't know. They seem to run their business on roller skates on a floor full of marbles. They just like that. And they haven't they've concentrated some. They've got a few. I think they have one movement that they made, and then they have another one that Tudor made, and they sort of used both of them. And I don't know what Breitling is up to and why in the world they bought Universal Geneve unless they had some movements or something about them. But Universal Geneve, before they folded, weren't they using ETA movements pretty much? So, I mean, it's like, "Oh, boy, we got this one." Are they gonna buy the cases? Maybe the machine. I have no idea what they're gonna do with Universal Geneve. Laurent Ferré is stunning. Yeah, perfect dimensions. They are. Hi, Mark. Here's our man from FP Journe. The man with, I tell you what, they had to give you a big Havana cigar. Here you go. Here's Mark and his Havana. God, I love that watch. Hamatic, but I don't know the thickness of it. Yeah, I I don't know what it is. There was a H.L. Mencken, who was an American journalist and sort of a jerk, but he said that no one ever went broke underestimating the taste of the American public. I think that might be more universally true than he realized. Is that some of these people are buying this stuff that's, at least in my opinion, and that's all it is junk. And they pay a lot for it. They stand in line for it. They go nuts for it. Why? I mean, is that like somebody said, and they were right. They said, "I'm tired of buying all these cheap watches. I'm going to save up and buy a good one." What a great concept. I mean, is sort of going from, you go to another level without without being a snob about it. You can get, that's what I like about the Powermatic 90. I don't know, there was something about it I like, not the silicon version, but the other version. And there's been a big stink about them for some reason, but they're sort of like, same thing with the ETA 6498-1. Love that movement. Or the clones. I'll take the clone version of it too. Hard to find a clone of the 6498 that is ticking at 18,000 semi-oscillations per hour. Most of them, I think, are cloned after the 3 hertz version. Batman uses Damascus steel in his grappling hook. Well, I knew it was something. I knew that was part of the literature that I keep up on. That was where I heard Damascus steel on the hook. Okay. Paul Gerber. Eric, you seen some watches show up in my Instagram feed lately. Any thoughts on his watches? He seems eccentric. I love his watches. Paul Gerber has this one. I'm always tempted to buy them. There's one that has 3 rotors. They're these little gold rotors, and they sort of, go around at the same time. It is eccentric but very cool. And the style of one of his watches is very sort of it's Bauhaus. It's either Bauhaus or a type of Art Deco, one of the two. Sort of in between there somehow, they landed with this green and black one. That's always been something I've been tempted to buy. Here's my problem with a lot of watches that I like that are very cool. I don't want to get watches I'm not going to be using a lot. Okay, I would use a Hamatic. I would use the Maurice Grossmann. In fact, a lot of the watches I have, in fact, almost all of the watches I have now, I want to wear every single day. And, I can, I've only got 2 arms. Hey, BB or Bobby, what are your thoughts on Pascal Koyan? If he's the guy I'm thinking of, he is. Oh, Pascal. Yeah, I think, is it Koyan? Is that his last name? Is he the Spanish watchmaker? I could be wrong, But there's this one guy, I think it's this Pascal. His stuff is fabulous. If he's the one I'm thinking of. Hi, Yama Yama Yama. How you doing, man? Do you like the open work, the Speak Marin? It looks like a skeleton. By and large, like I said, I'm not crazy about open work, and as much as I like Moritz Grossman, I'd rather have something other than an open work. But once I discovered it was all hands on my hand net, I love all of the different kinds of hands. So by and large, like I said, I'm not an open face skeletonized sort of guy. There's certain ones. I think there's a tourbillon that was made by H. Moser that won a Grand Prix award a couple years ago. Thing is just gorgeous, and the whole thing is skeletonized, but it's done rather than simply carving out where there had been some bridges. It looks like a small piece of sculpture. And it's so that one is fine. It does have a little bitty dial, and then it has all this other wonderful stuff with a tourbillon right at the bottom. I mean, beautiful looking watch. They're not comic books. Well, actually, Brian, in my collection, they're not graphic novels. They're graphic literature. That's you. They're not comic books. Abdul, going back to Laurent Ferrier, I was actually doing a little thought exercise the other day. How come the watches went from 30,000 euro to double that, and at least probably because he could get it. There's it's sort of like, I think just about any business is going to do that. Watch collectors, I don't know what percentage of watch buyers, I think we make up a relatively small percent, but I think we may make up a larger percent of those who want these really top watches. So I'm not sure. And so, if they have a watch, well, ask yourself this. If you have a watch and you're selling it for 30,000 euro, and you're making, let's say, around, I'll say 20,000 euro. Okay, so for each one you produce, you make 20,000 out of that 30,000. All right, and you can't keep up with it. And so say, well, like this, if I charge 40, I'll be able to keep up with the demand. So then you charge 40 and people still want them. And now instead of making 50,000 per watch, you're making 60,000. And you're going to say, oh, these watch collectors, I love watch collectors, so I don't want to make it too high. I don't think so. Who's French? Laurent Ferrier, yeah. Makes superb pieces. He does. Hey, John. Yeah, it was ETA 7001. I guess Pazoo was bought by ETA. And so I guess Pazoo quit making them when they were sold to ETA. So they may have disappeared altogether. You find them on eBay every now and then. Someone will be selling one. So there should be a lot of them around in, pre-owned watches. You like the Raymond Weil freelancer? For years, I wore a Raymond Weil. I thought it was a luxury watch. They're nice watches. They're very nice designs to them, I think. The reference to the name of my Moritz Grossman. Well, my nickname is You Can't Have It. which isn't very nice. It's called, Abdul, it's called an Atum H, is the letter H. What they did, I think, what Christine Hutter did, she had a series of ATUM watches come out with different designations. Where the H came from, I have no idea. But in the H series, there were the ones with green hands, orange hands, white hands, blue hands, and there may have been another one. But if you go and you just put in Moritz Grossmann Atum letter H, there's a place that's still around on Moritz Grossmann's. If you go to Moritz Grossmann's website, you won't see it because they don't make them anymore. But it's been fairly recent that they quit making them. And I guess the dealer who I got it from figured, I'm not going to sell this thing, so I want to have a good price for it, and move it out of stock, and or got a great price, great discount to begin with, and so I figured, well, I want to sell it before I lose money, and I raised my hand to put it. Here I am, inexpensive, great watch. That's me. Pascal Coyan. Yeah. Shamu Dandy already open face. Brian, I got to tell you, one of the guys that I sold a watch to has one. And I asked him what he thought about it. And he's like me, I just love them. It's a watch that's so cool. And they didn't make that many of them. And I'm glad I got the steel one. I like the gold one actually, but they're a lot more money. But having a Chaumet, it's like having a Chaumet piece of jewelry. And if you want to price them, they I don't think they don't have like outlets in the US that I know of. They're mostly in France and Europe. But what a watch. Yeah, just this crazy watch with an Nagenhor movement in it. Rancho, you're back. Rancher, sort of missing the thread on this one. Oh, I see. Yeah. You're right, Rancher. They're not the first. Literature equal hoity-toity. That's right. If you're not hoity-toity, you're just you're just the lumpen proletariat. Let's see. Doesn't an independent encourage flippers? Yeah, this is a discussion that I forgot. We've had this discussion about it, and I think it came up in Larique, but it applies to literally any brand. If the only reason a person is buying a watch from a company is because they know that they're hard to get and they can go out and they can flip them, boom, really quickly. And some people say, well, they shouldn't allow that because it really messes things up. Well, it doesn't mess up the manufacturer's bottom line, I'll tell you that. What it messes up is sort of the buyers who want to get one like that. I don't know. There are other possibilities. Another thing too, I think I've sort of learned in a not brilliant way, but certain things that are not in-house are better. Okay. Not only movements, but I've been finding that I can get really good straps on my own rather than, well, first of all, you can't get a gator strap and have it cross the border unless you have, I don't know, the Secretary of Sites with you. Let me see. These set of gator bands is by a place called ABP Concepts Paris. And I don't know how they do it, but they're totally gator, and I guess they must have all of the sightseeing all set up, and so it's not a problem getting one. They just ship it right to me, and then I don't have to go through a lot of nonsense. Now, with my Moritz Grossmann, I told the guy, I said, look, I'm sure that the strap is is a legitimate gator strap. But I said, just in case, why don't you do this? Send me the strap separately, and then send the movement and the buckle and the spring bar separately. And so he did, and I'm glad he did. Nothing was stopped because I can only assume that because Moritz Grossmann or any other company, they're not going to be putting gator straps on their watches that are not sites qualified. The problem is sites is, I don't know, I think they think it's 1985 and they have to have paperwork to make sure something is okay. All they got to do is stick a little chip in between the stitching that says this thing is genuine, and then whip it with a wand and they can find out whether it's legitimate or not. What they do now is that as soon as it hits the border, if it's got a gator strap, they don't care if, the Pope has said it's good. If it doesn't have this massive paperwork required by sites, they just send the whole watch back and you're out of luck. So I never, ever ship overseas. Right now I'm about to send a watch over across the border, but the buyer said, "Look, I got someone here in the U.S. you can send it to." So that's what I'm doing, and so they'll get the gator strap and everything else with it. But the getting a good strap is a matter of getting a good strap, whether it has Patek Philippe or some other name on it doesn't make it any better, but some people really obsess over those kinds of details. Wrong detail to obsess over. What you want to obsess is figuring out why they're putting silicone in their hairspring. Okay, what else do you guys have? Let's see. Hey, Kelly, what's up? Do you know anything about Benzinger? All I know about him is he's a German engraver, and he I think he has his own brand too. And his stuff does really top rated engraving. Abdul, okay, there are very few watches where extensive handiwork goes into every facet of the watch. That's true. Moritz Grossmann Trib Trimblage is one such watch, and it's mesmerizing. Yeah, I'll tell you, if you read about Philippe Dufour's and his stuff, it's just amazing. Here was a tip that a watchmaker gave me. This watchmaker used to be a GPHG judge too. He said when you look at the beveling or the anglage on a watch, is that you'll see it, they'll come to a point, and you can tell whether it's done by hand or not. If at the point you have one side with the beveling and then the other side with the beveling, but the point's not beveled. So on the other hand, if you see it that they beveled the point of the point, that's also, and it was really interesting that it was one of the tricks that the judges use for GPHG. And let's see, this Urban Jurgensen, they have really, let me just check it real quick. Yeah, they have those little points on the bridges and the plates. Let me see. I just saw it. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. See this? Hang on a second. Whoops. Okay, see this plate right here on the bottom, this bottom plate? There are a couple points on it. Let me see if we can. Okay, see where they come to a point? Those points are beveled. So you know it's a hand beveled or and what they call anglaise. And I probably pronounced my French is terrible. But that's another little thing you can check out. This H. Moser. Yeah, you have to find a point to. This is what my. Hang on a second. Yeah, this too. They're hard to see. The 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 points aren't quite as defined. I mean, they're harder to see, but it's the same thing. You see these little bevel on the tip of the point. On other ones, you see some nice beveling, but the beveling is on either side of the point and not on the point itself. Anyway, okay, let's see what else you guys have. Hi, Allie. How you doing? Orange Hand, how are you? Okay, the best movement finishing you ever find, like looking at the back of the high definition, I compare its artisan to their hematic. Oh, really? That that's very high praise. Orange Hand, is it Bob Ross or I don't know who Bob Ross is. Oh, a hat. I guess is there I guess there must be a Bob Ross who's wearing a fancy hat. Let's see. Before closing Universal Geneve, did indeed use ETA movements, mechanical and quartz. Yeah. So I mean, it's like I'm trying to figure out, John, why. I mean, what was the value in buying it? Like Chanel bought what they call a friendly interest, and Romain Gauthier. But there's a very clear reason they did it is that Romain Gauthier is one of the tip top watchmakers who makes his own parts, and they thought that would be nice to have access to the parts by Romain Gauthier, and you can see it in their watches. That's sort of a cool thing. On the other hand, when I don't know, I just I don't know why who the buyers of Breitling. I want to say Brigade, but it was Breitling. When they bought, what were they thinking? Okay, like, oh, they have a bunch of things, that we can just use that are off the shelf. I don't know. I don't know. Breitling is a brand that I used to think it was the best brand in the world, that and Tag Heuer, because I saw them in pilot shops. But I don't know. The more I learn about them, it's just sort of like, they got a couple one-trick ponies and that's it. And even those are using somebody else's movement with a phony baloney B name to them. I don't know. Hi, Sam. How you doing? Do I have any loop recommendations? This is called a loop system. It comes with a briefcase, believe it or not. This comes with a briefcase. It looks like you could put a small machine gun in. But the thing I like about it, it's got this clip that comes with it. And you take this top part off and you put it on there. And then you put the other part of the clip on your camera, and you really can get some very good close-ups with it. But it's also just a really well-ground lens. It's called a loop system. And they're, unfortunately, they cost more than I like for things to cost. But man, I tell you, they're very clear, and they're very nice. There's this guy, it's really funny. There's a guy who's so proud of his loop system. All of the watch time shows, this guy's going around looking at the watches, and he pulls his pocket and he pulls out this thing and looks at it like it was like, oh boy. FP Journe, where is it? Here it is. Oh, let's talk about FP Journe. That'll be fun. This right here is an FP Journe, one of the ones they had for promotion. It's from the Line Sports watches, and it's rubber, so it's really nice on your eye. Anyway, when I was at a presentation that he had, I showed him my resonance, and so he looked at it and he looked at it, and then he carries a loop, have loop will travel. I thought that was sort of funny. I think when I took my first watchmaking lesson, they recommended 2 loops. One I think was 3 or 5, and the other one was, I forgot what the other one was, maybe 10. But they were much lower than I thought that most watchmakers had, but it's not. And I ended up getting, what I got is that when I'm doing some pretentious watchmaking work, I have these. What I did, these are an older pair of glasses, of prescription glasses. And I got this fancy thing. I had to wait almost a year to get this one. These are special ones, and they're made either for the left eye or the right eye. Most people, the default one is for the right eye. And so when I ordered them, they asked me that, and I said, I want it for the left eye. And I had to wait almost a year until they finally said, I got an email, do you still want it? Well, you bet I want it. And so it's a sort of a hassle to put on and take off. And so I thought, well, these are my old, I think they're my old reading glasses or something. So I'll just put a loop on there, and it's been really convenient. And then when I start doing some serious, pretentious watchmaking work, they're all ready to go. Hey, Sam, how you doing? Abdul, let's see. Oh, thanks. Okay, some interesting information about Benzinger. He is one of the few mastering gravers that are on retainer for Faubourg and St. Petersburg in Russia to work on their famed Fabergé eggs. That's very interesting. Wonder how things are going right now for old Benzinger. Hope they're going well. Okay, let's see. Hey, Bobo, did you ever go through a sport tool watch collecting phase? No, never did. I have like one sports watch that I sold, I think. I'm just not in, I wasn't that into, never have been that much in sports watch. The sports watch I sold was really a great sports watch. And it was a Roger Dubuis sports watch. I might get another one. I have a little Seiko 5 is like a field watch, but just, I don't know. It just sort of like, I like dress. I don't know what they call them, dress watches. It's not so much dress watch. It's sort of watches that, It's sort of like wearing I my view often of sports watches is something that kids wear. Now, I know it's not, and I know that sounds snotty, okay? But they can be a lot of fun too. I mean, depends on the kind of thing. If like there's so many divers and there's the desk divers, and I guess there's nothing wrong with that. I had my easy diver for a while and never put a toe even in a swimming pool with that watch. But that's, I mean, other people who like them enjoy them so much. That's great. Some people like them as their only kind of watch, as some kind of sports watch. Basically, just about all Rolexes now are sports watches, I think. They all look it to me anyway, except for the Cellini, and they quit making those. Hey, Randy. Michael. Hi, Michael. How bad is Longines? I didn't say they're bad. I don't think they're bad at all. I like Longines. Why would you think they're bad, Michael? Oh, they all have marketing fluff. That doesn't bother me. I just like them. I mean, the one I have, maybe the one I have is in some respects is a little, in fact, it is unusual. It was made for the 100th anniversary they had back in 1989, and it's for an equation of time watch, and then it's got this big, thick enamel on it. God, what a great watch! And some of the other ones I've seen, I really like. Um, but I don't. Where did you get a sense that they were something was wrong with them? I mean, they're not high horology, and they never claimed to be, but they are, I think, a very good watch, and I like them. Okay, Abdul, let's see. The thing about Breitling, Omega, etc., is that if you're in, because you're into high horology, you might not see any value in them. It's not. I understand the value. Okay, I think I understand the value. In fact, having a moon watch, I think, is a very cool thing. Um, you know, I, really, I think, Abdul, I sometimes I don't follow my own advice, all right? And here's my advice to myself. Do not if you don't if something is not for you, it doesn't mean you don't like them. It means they don't fit what you like. And there's a big difference about not liking things because it's funny, there are a lot of sports watches I do like. In fact, some of them I like very much, but there are other ones that I like better. Um, it's insane, I think. Not only insane, but broken to do comparisons, especially if you're comparing watch collections or things like that. Someone will say, "Oh, my watch collection is better than yours," and what is that thing? I got something in my there. Um, there's always going to be somebody who's got a better watch collection than you, who's better looking than you, who's taller than you, who has some asset that you don't have. And so why worry about it for anyone? It just like, why? Because it's sort of an unwinning thing. To me, if I get something I like, I could care less about what anybody else thinks. You don't go out and buy a watch called a Dandy Artie and really with a patent leather strap by a jeweler, Chaumet, and worry about what other people are thinking. Uh, what I was thinking was that I found, my God, look at this. Here's an Agonaise gears in here. And look at this thing is beautiful. This is amazing. Now, I don't expect anybody else except a few people to have to share that. And I wouldn't expect them to. Excuse me. Somebody comes up with a brand new watch. Says, look at my new watch. I love it. I wear it every day. And I'm thinking, not for me, but you don't say that. And I don't think that really. I'm thinking, that's good for them, and that's fine. So I think it's really important not to get into a cycle of trying to that's why I have no envy. I mean, I see somebody with some great stuff. I see someone with great stuff. I don't say, well, how come they have it and I don't? It doesn't matter because there's always, no matter how much you have, no matter how good your collection is, no matter how good looking you are, how tall you are, how slim you are, how good you are, there's always going to be somebody better. So why worry about it? I think that's really boils down to my philosophy. And as a result, I can really enjoy other people's collections. Like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, this is a neat collection. I can also appreciate other people's taste that aren't mine. So that's sort of where I'm coming from on that. Ah, Kelly got a Gap watch, a collaboration between Harboring 2 and Benzinger. To me, that's almost a perfect marriage, and I'll tell you why. Richard Harbring makes really great movements. Benzinger is the designer. When I started talking about designer, everything being designer and not paying attention to the information design, but rather graphic design, here you have the same thing where you can have great graphic design and a crummy movement. What you have with that Benzinger Harboring 2 is a perfect marriage. That's from my viewpoint. I just got the main book. It weighs about 9 pounds. It has an amazing photography and tells a great story. Because you're into horology, you might see a value in it, but a normal consumer, these are luxury because of the price and how shiny they look. That could be true. Oh, okay. Wait, I'm reading two different things. Amazing photography and tells a great story about their first 5 years developing the brand. Co-written with Jack Forster. Yeah, he's a Hodinkee writer, I think. Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. Another fun cheap watch is LIP Winston Churchill. Wore one far from high horology, but big plates and undercoated, nice designs, French watches, solid movements. That sounds good. Can I get your opinion of Naira Haida watches? I don't know them. I don't know that brand. Um, is it a Japanese brand? Abdul. Comparison is the thief of joy. Ooh, that's a nice way of putting it. Each watch collection is always interesting. That's what's fun. Good point, John. I agree with that. I mean, it's sort of like if you look at your collection and you go and you look at all the others and they're exactly the same, that's no fun. Hi, Yamaguchi. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs is about the concept there's always someone better than you. Oh, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs is one of my favorite movies. I watch that's sort of the movie in the series, but that's the one I love that movie. Great point, great example. Buster Scruggs. Hey, Abdul, do you know of the Moser HMC 800? Their famous perpetual movement comes with double hairspring. I know the original one, and the original one that I liked about it, it was very easy to reset. Now, if you have a perpetual, I have no idea how a perpetual calendar works. That to me is really a very interesting horological challenge just to understand. Um, it's a really interesting one, but the one that H. Moser, I'm not really into calendars that much, to tell you the truth. At my age, I don't have that much time left. But the thing about the perpetual calendar is that if it gets off, you have to have some way of resetting it. And if I don't know if it's automatic or not. Maybe a hand wound. And with a hand wound watch, you got to wind it up. This one, even on this one is, which is a weekly. This one is 2 days. I wound this up last night so I could wear it tomorrow because I figured I'll put a day on it and make it feel wanted. Sometimes I get behind on that. Hey, Canuck Watch Collector, how you doing? What do you think of Lane watches? I think they're good looking. I don't know that much. I think the stuff that I looked at, Canuck, I did look at them and I liked them. I do like the looks. I like their design, but I forgot about the movements that they have in them. But just in general, I like them. What do you like AP watches? Audemars Piguet? Yes, I do. The reason I'm laughing is that, well, maybe not the Spider-Man version. You know what? The AP I like? I really like their basic steel Royal Oak, just the plain vanilla one. And the only reason I didn't get one was that when I was making up my mind between an overseas and a Royal Oak, there was a snotty salesman and a nice salesman and so I got it from the nice guy. There's a lesson there. One of them has a Vauchur movement. Yeah, yeah. That doesn't surprise me, Canuck. Yeah, I um I've got some ideas. Like I guess every other nerd that is thinking about trying to figure out some other watches to make. Now, Larique, as far as I'm concerned, Larique has the best watchmaker in the world making movements for them. That I have no doubt about. And so that's a great deal of joy. However, there's some other things I've been thinking about is something that would be what I've seen have been a lot of startups, and they'll have these really nice designs and then they'll put in a cheap movement. I mean, it just floors me. And I've been thinking of a way to put in a really good movement by a top watchmaker. Now, this would be an off-the-shelf movement, something like Vauchur or Carnot. That might be a thing to do. Here's what I'd really like to do. I'd like to get together with the guys with the Vitarec brothers in Agenor, and also Daniela Dufour, and sort of the sons and daughters of these great watchmakers, and have them make a simple watch. What I want is something with a nice big balance wheel, time only, and that's it. 1.5, 2.5 hertz. Just something, just a beautiful watch. Very simple. Wouldn't call it Philippe got the good name, simplicity, but this one would be a sort of big balance. Ooh, that'd be a fun one to have. Oh, really? Wow. Hey, Ali Riza, I need help. Recommend the best sub $4,000 watch. I'm not asking for a new looking or bargain, but looking for a bargain. If you can find, it may not be easy. If you can find a Harboring 2 right around 4-ish, I think you'd have a great watch. That would be my recommendation right off the top of my head. It wasn't too long ago that you could find a great deal on Roger Dubuis, and you still may be able to, and Daniel Roth. Both of those would be great ones, I think, to have for $4,000 ish planes. Anyway, guys, listen. I got to bounce, so I'm gonna have to go. But I figured on a snow day, this would be a fun time. We've been here for yakking for over an hour and a half. And so, anyway, thank you all for coming out in the snow and talking about watches. Take care.